Hey guys, welcome to part 3 of the Le Bois de Veilleurs playthrough of Netherwatch with the Loyal Vigil expansion. We are just about to head into the confrontation. The map has gotten massive. There's actually the ranger's office up here, which you can't see, and the dining hall. So if there's anything that happens there, I'm going to pull things down. But for now, we're going to focus on going to this rift over here to get the ritual started. So I'm going to reset everybody's actions. The demon is now dormant. And I think the first one to move will be the border collie. So I was thinking of keeping everybody together. And I think it might not be a bad idea because now, because the border collie is going to start first, he's going to have to roll. The athlete, I can move him into a zone using the border collie's passive ability and get us close to over there, at least somewhere where there's some light. So I'm going to start by rolling the border collie's die. And it is a 1. So he's going to lose 1 sanity for starting in a dark zone. And then we're going to use his move action. And we're going to take the agent with us. So we're going to take the athlete with us. So we're going to move 1, 2. So now we're going to be in a zone adjacent to the to a rift. And we're going to now use, as the second action for the border collie, we are going to use his malice circle. So we place the summoning circle on the rift, and as long as it's the Striga, we're all set. So now we're going to reach into the envelope. You got to pull it out a certain way so you can read the text. The circle trembles, burning with an otherworldly glow. The ground shudders as though the earth itself recoils from what approaches. From the silence beyond, a presence gathers, and before you stands, yes, the Striga. There it is. And now we know that the circle of malice was correct, which means that we now, so we can discard this, it's been used, and it means that we now start the confrontation phase with the advantage. So we're officially in the confrontation phase. I'm going to grab the required materials and we'll move forward from there. Now, when the Striga appears, so Eternal Night, when revealed, replace any lit cubes with dark cubes. Remove all agents from lit bases. So the lit cubes here are going to disappear. So 1, 2, 1, 2. So that becomes a dark cube. That becomes a dark cube. And then this one over here. So luckily we had done a lot of that just before. And we are not in lit bases, so we're okay. Place a dark cube in each rift. So we have one here already. So we need a dark cube for down here. Oh my God, I'm almost running out of them. So there's one over here. And we already have one here, and there's going to be one over here. One over here. So each rift now has a dark cube. No effects may place lit cubes except as stated in the banishment ritual. So we cannot place lit cubes. All we can do is light our bases. So agents who begin their turn in a dark zone roll hindered sanity instead of regular sanity. Effects that modify the roll may not be used. Now the next one is selective. The target is never removed at the end of the demon phase. So someone will always be the target. And it cannot change actions or agents except if the Striga does it. The Striga always moves towards the target. If the target dies, the agent with the least sanity becomes the target. So we're going to keep the target here. The Striga can only kill the target. If she enters a zone with an exposed agent that is not the target, instead of resolving entity overlap, all agents in that zone roll a sanity die, and the Striga moves 1 extra zone per affected agent. So then we get to start first. For this one, I actually have the Striga standee, so I'm going to put it in the red base. Put it here, so now we know where it is. Okay, so I went ahead and I removed everything from the board that really wasn't applicable. I might have forgotten a couple of things here and there, but at least the clues do have to come off the board because once you're in the confrontation stage, they don't apply anymore. So now we got the athlete with 5 sanity. We've got the border collie with 4. I'm not sure why the athlete still has a spirit box. I'm just going to get rid of that because it is completely useless at this point. There's no use to it. And I just noticed that the ritual candles actually, as I was setting it up here, are supposed to be in the hand. So that's perfect that the spirit box is gone. That can all be done while you're shifting things around. Anytime you do a use action, you're trading, you can shift your items around, so that's not a problem. So the Border Collie will have his actions reset because now we are going into the manifestation phase. So we're going to be using the manifestation track, or the manifested actions track. And the key is we're going to have to do a ritual with these candles. So I think the first thing we're going to start with is we're going to start with the athlete. So we're starting in a dark zone, which means we have to roll the sanity die. Now it says here that because of the deadly dark, the dark zones will be hindered rolls instead of regular rolls. So the arcane fetish, unfortunately, will not be able to help us for that. So the hindered roll is 1 and 1. So luckily we only lose 1 for that. So if we read the banishing for the Striga, the first thing we have to do is use the ritual candles in a dark zone to remove it and replace it with a lit cube. So in this case, we are in a zone with a dark cube. So we're going to use the candle for 1 action, and we're going to replace it with a lit cube. So that's going to help us for starting our next turn if we're in that space. If we're not, it won't. And then we need to shuffle 2 banishment tokens plus 1 for each living agent more than 2. So we're only 2 living agents, which means we're only going to be shuffling 2 of those banishment tokens. I mix them up here in my hand so we don't know which is which. Mix it up again. And I'm going to stick those right here while I keep reading the rules. So now we stack these tokens near the demon board, so they are not actually coming out yet. So the next thing we have to do is we have to lure the beast. So when the Striga enters a zone with a lit cube, we replace it with a face down banishment token. So in order to spawn the banishment tokens, we have to actually pull the Striga through a lit area. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the athlete's next move, and I'm going to use his passive ability to carry another agent. So he's going to bring the Border Collie in his arms and bring him over to the welcome cabin. Now, normally I would have placed a lit cube here, but we can't place a lit cube when the Striga is out. That is the rules of the Eternal Night. So in this case, we're going to move on to the Border Collie and see what we can do with him. Now, we know that he can bring any number of agents with him as he's moving. So I'm going to spend 1 action, and I'm going to move him and the athlete into the lavatories. So they're going to have at least a hiding spot there. Now, there is a dark cube here. At least from here, the Border Collie did not have to start with a sanity die roll since he's not near the Striga and there's no darkness in the welcome cabin. So now that we are hiding in the lavatories, I'd remembered that at the end of my turn, if I move less than 2 zones with the athlete, I get to actually get a sanity back. So I'm going to play that right now. And now with the Border Collie, what I'm going to do is I'm going to guard twice. So I'm going to use an action and also the free action of guard from the collar. And what that's going to do is it's going to give me 1 sanity back for each time and give me the target. Now, the whole point is that the target is going to change once the Striga does its first action. So I figured why not get 2 extra sanity to protect ourselves a little bit and at least stay hidden. So now that both agents are done their turns, we're going to move on to the Striga's turn, which will be number 1, which is perfect prey. The agent with the next highest sanity becomes the target. So in this case, it says we already have the target assigned to the Border Collie, but it says the agent with the next highest sanity becomes the target. So the target is going to switch because now they're saying go to the next character. So we're going to move to the athlete. Now, once we move here, we place a dark cube in that agent's zone. There already is one, but also in adjacent zones, which means the welcome cabin is also going to get a dark cube. Then the Striga moves 2 zones, and then you discard 1 event. So it's going to move 1, and as it moves through here, we're going to take the banishment ritual, and we're going to place it here, face down. Then it's going to make its second movement to the welcome cabin, and it's going to stop there. Now we move on to the next turn, and we reset our actions. I'm going to also check with a number 2. There's nothing special that happens, and I think we are okay to move on to the next phase. So now as we start the next round, I need to figure out how to get over to this banishment token, and I also need to light more things around here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Border Collie, and I'm going to move him with I think I'm going to move him with a dash. So by moving him with a dash, we're going to go out of our hiding spots, and we're going to go 1, and 2, and we're going to move over here. Now, the first thing, before I forget, I'm always forgetting, I got to roll the sanity die for the Border Collie. So it's 1. And so we remove that from the Border Collie. So I'm not going to bother placing a token because I'm just going to pick it right back up. So now I'm going to put this on the ground here for the athlete. I also forgot that with the Border Collie, I can still do a guard action even if it won't pull the target off because of the Striga's specials. I can still get a sanity back from guarding, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Pocket 3 is usable for 2 players. I will pick up the Winterstone Fragment, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend 1 action to use it. And I'm also going to roll to see, and I get blank, so I am not getting a sanity loss for this round for starting adjacent to the demon, and we're in lit zone, so we're okay. So now I must use the Winterstone Fragment to roll the die and reveal. So this is a regular roll, so I'm going to go once. I'm going to bring it over here so you guys can see. There's 1 and 2. So the worst one is 1, and so I'm going to take 1 sanity off, and then I will reveal it. So we're going to reveal here, and it's the inert one. It's not the good one. So that really sucks. So now this is inert. We discard it. It's going to now be out. So we know that this next one is going to be the nest. So now since the athlete is the target, I'm going to take him and take his last action. I'm going to move him 1 and 2 because of his passive, and I'm going to move him into the ranger's office. Or the ranger station in this case, not quite the office. So now that the turns are done, the Striga is going to go next, and this will be Striga Fury. If the target is exposed, which the target currently is, they roll a sanity die. So now we're going to have the regular sanity die roll, so it's a 2, but we get to use our arcane fetish, and it's still 2, unfortunately. So that brings us down to 2. Oof, pretty sketchy. So now that I've rolled that, the Striga will move 2 zones. So it's going to move 1 zone here. So now, because the Striga does not kill the one that is not the target, we are actually going to not get... So the Border Collie is not going to get killed by this, which is exactly what I wanted. And now we're going to get to roll the die, and it's a 1. So now the Border Collie is going to lose 1 sanity, and the Striga is going to move an additional zone. So that means instead of moving just 1 and 2, it could go 3. However, we are going to trigger the unique ability of our athlete, and if the demon would enter your zone as a reaction, you may roll sanity to immediately move up to 3 zones. So we are going to roll sanity, take the least bad result. So we got 2, but in this case it's 1. So our athlete only has 1 sanity left. This is really scary. Now, since the athlete gets to move 3 zones, we're going to move him 1, 2, and 3 all the way back to the welcome cabin. It's not good because he's going to have to start there, but nothing says we can't win the game while in breakdown. We just have to manage this as best as we can. So now that that's over and the Striga has moved and the athlete has reacted, we will discard 1 event card. So it looks like we have about 3 cards left, guys, so we may actually make this. And now this lit cube actually has disappeared because I forgot that when you put a banishment token, you actually have to remove it. So it's not actually there anymore. Now, since we know that the target switches every time it goes back to number 1, we know that the Border Collie is going to be the next target, so we can plan ahead for that. In this case, what I'm going to do is I know that this is going to be the banishment ritual, so I'm going to try to pull the Striga through here. We're going to spend another one. We're going to move the athlete down into the lavatories to hide in there. So he's going to hide there, so he's prepared that when the Striga comes through here and the nest is exposed, we're going to be ready. So now what we're going to do with the Border Collie is we're going to spend 2 actions here to make it dash for 4 movement. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and go hide in the abandoned cabin. That's going to pull the Striga that way at some point. So now the next one is that we have to move this to reassess, where adjacent agents roll deadly sanity, but nobody's adjacent. Then the Striga moves as many zones as needed to return to the summoning circles, and you discard 2 events. So there's the 2 events that are gone. We have 1 card left, guys. Now there's really nothing else that we can do for this turn. The Border Collie can guard twice to regain 2 sanity. The athlete will not move, and given that it's a 2, will gain 3 sanity. So 1, 2, 3. But I'm not going to spend any actions doing anything because at this point we just need the Striga to get through the light here. So now we have the Striga going into perfect prey. The agent with the next highest sanity becomes the target. So now the target moves to the Border Collie. I also forgot too that I got to roll for the athlete for the sanity loss. So it is actually 2. So he would have been in breakdown, but because of this pulse monitor and he was on a 2, it actually removes breakdown. So that's why we go back 1, 2, 3. So we just have 1 less than I thought. So the next part here is then we have to move the Striga over by 2 zones. So we're going to go 1 zone and 2 zones to the cabin because we are finding the shortest path to the abandoned cabin, which is where the border collie is. The minute it enters this zone, it turns this light cube into the nest. And guys, I will be honest, after all this hard work, I don't know if we're going to make it because once I pick this last card, which is after this turn, I have to discard it. So let's see. We're going to discard it. And what does it say here? It says, when the event deck runs out of cards, flip this card over. The demon is now ascended. Be sure to have your affairs in order when this occurs. But unfortunately, we were pretty much 1 round off of getting to the nest and burning it. All the athlete had to do was, when this nest got revealed, was to walk in there the next turn and burn it. But unfortunately, we didn't make it on time. I'm devastated. So now we have Demon Ascended. The demon has reached its full power. All hope of banishment is lost. Perhaps even the chance of escape has slipped beyond our reach. You may now only complete the operation's escape objective. The demon now moves 1 extra zone each time it moves. At the end of each demon phase, all agents lose 1 sanity. So with that, it's a little hard to see because the board, but we have the token here for the escape in the ranger's office. What we have to do is we have to go to that area, we have to use, and then we have to escape by another means, by getting to the HQ. So all we can do at this point is just run as fast as we can and try to get there. So the Striga is now done its turn, so we now have our actions back. We are basically going to dash as quickly as we can. So the athlete is going to start his turn next to the demon and in a dark zone. So he's going to roll for the dark zone. That is a 1 and a 1. So that's 1 sanity. And then he's going to roll for being next to the demon. That's a 2 and a 2. So he is now officially in breakdown. So he cannot overlap anymore at all. So he will now spend his 2 actions to dash, and he's going to use his full movement of 4, meaning we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and 4 up to the hollow stump. So now we're going to take the border collie and we're going to move 1, 2, 3, 4 zones. Now what they're going to do is they're going to carry each other along with the objective. So now we don't want anybody hiding because that's going to cause the Striga to move further. So we're going to go Strigian Fury, which is if the target is exposed, which they are, they roll the die. So the border collie is going to roll the die, and that's a 2. So that will be a 2 sanity loss. And then the Striga will move 2 zones. So in this case, I get to choose where it goes. It's going to be within 1 zone anyways. So I'm going to move it 1 and 2 to leave myself the path open. Now we restart. So I kept forgetting that if you're in a dark zone, you kind of roll hindered sanity. I don't think it's going to matter anyways because I think our guys are going to finish in breakdown. But I just have to remember to do that as well. Now, for the next one, we need to get over to the ranger's office. So it says I have to pick up this escape token like a hand item. So in this case, I think we're going to use the border collie to move us there first so that then the athlete can pick it up. So first of all, I'm going to roll for the athlete, but right now he is in breakdown, so it doesn't matter at all. He will dash and move 3 places, and he's going to bring the border collie with him. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3. So they are now both of them in the ranger's office, and we're going to pick up the park ranger. We're going to get him out of here. So in this case, we do not need the ritual candles anymore, so we are going to drop these on the ground, just discard it, and I will pick up the park ranger right here from his office, and I'm going to bring him over here into the left hand. So now we have possession of the park ranger. So now, in order to escape, we have all 3 objectives in HQ. We have picked up the ranger from the park office, put it in a hand item slot. And now when we are adjacent to HQ, we have to drop the escape token in that zone. and then move one zone to escape. So we're going to do that as a team. So now that we've played for the athlete, we're going to play for the border collie. Now, the border collie is not in a dark zone, so he's okay. He doesn't need to roll, and he's not adjacent to the demon, so there's no problem there. So what we're going to do is he's going to move with a dash and move the agent. He's going to move the athlete with him. So we're going to move 1, 2, 3, and 4, since we know that the demon is heading back to its nest. Now that that's complete, we're going to move to reassess for the Striga, which is adjacent agents roll deadly sanity. There is no adjacency, so we are good. And then the Striga moves as many zones as needed to return to the summoning circle. So in this case, because we created a loop, it's even. I'm going to take what's better for me. This is where if you had someone playing as the demon, they would just come and eat you. But in this case, I'm going to play what's best for us. And I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Had he gone this way, 1, 2, 3, 4, it would have been the same thing. So that brings him back to his nest, which basically makes us home free to get back to the HQ. So now we're going to restore our actions, and I'm going to move with the athlete, and he's going to basically dash at this point, and I'm going to move 1, 2 into the parking lot. So I still technically have one more movement left because I'm carrying the dog, so I only have a maximum of 3. But at this point, when I'm adjacent to HQ, I may drop it in that zone. So I'm going to mid-movement, drop it in the zone. So that is the escape token right there. And then living agents in that zone may move one zone to escape Le Bois des Veilleurs, in which case I will move my last movement of 3 into HQ. We are off in the van. The park ranger has been rescued along with all 3 of the others, and we are out of here. So that concludes the game, folks. That was pretty wild. In recent times, I have not escaped. I've either been killed or banished. The demon, in this case, I've actually escaped. So I can't believe it. And I thought it wouldn't be as rewarding, but it actually is. When you actually survive, despite having been thwarted by the demon, it's a great feeling. And the great part is that in the manual, there are points. So if you go to the back of the manual, there's Netherwatch options, which is agent promotions, and you get service points for completing certain things. And in this case, a banishment victory is 5, an escape victory is 2. So you're still getting 2 service points towards your next rank up, which will give you promotion abilities that are extra actions you can do once per game. So I really like that because it's like a bit of a legacy system in a sense. So it gives you things that you can do later in future games, and it kind of builds up your characters, right, as you progress and you essentially gain experience. So the escape is going to give us 2 service points, and this time, since I placed the rifts in the right spot, I can say it's a legitimate escape victory. So yes, I may have made a few mistakes, but I think I've corrected most of them. This is how much more difficult it is to play on veteran. As you can see, I had 2 extremely fast moving characters, and they were able to make their way around by just spinning around a circle here. I created a loop. That's really what saved us, because had there been dead ends, we would have been toast, especially that the athlete was in breakdown. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments what you thought, and I will see you next time.